Hey everybody, Jessica here from Event Marketer, and welcome to our first Event Ops conversation of 2025. This is our quarterly LinkedIn Live about event execution, event operations, and event production with the ops leaders who make so much of the magic happen. Today we are going to talk about extreme weather. We're going to talk about client education. We're going to talk about the front lines, and we're going to do it all with some of the people who oversee arguably some of the most important and strategic pieces of any event production cycle. I'm really excited to have with us here today two operations experts from two award-winning experiential agencies. Caitlin Retzer is Senior Experiential Producer at Public School. Welcome, Caitlin.
Hello.
Hello. And Jason Whitkiss is Vice President of Production at Coffee and Clothes. Hey, Jason.
Hello.
Welcome. And of course, back with me is my friend and our co-host and our partner of the Event Ops series, Matt Andrews. He's the Senior Vice President at Highmark Outdoor, a leading provider of outdoor structures for event agencies and their clients. He oversees all operations at Highmark and manages a team of 14 people in the field. Matt, welcome. And where are we finding you today?
Well, I'm at home, believe it or not. So I'm in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and thanks. It's great to be here. I wanted to bid everybody a Happy New Year, but seeing how it's almost March, I'll still say it, Happy New Year. But here we are in March going after it. So great to be here. Caitlin, Jason, thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. Going after it is the theme. This industry is busy right now. It's awesome to see. So, well, great. I'm going to jump right in. Caitlin, this first question is for you, but I want to take a look at the big picture as we head into this last month of Q1 and look at how the ops job and the ops function is changing. And I'm wondering if you could tell us a little bit about what you're seeing in terms of what's the same and what's different in 2025.
Yeah, I mean, I think AI is a big thing that's coming into play for our teams, when it comes to researching new places and things that we can do in specific markets. So I'd say AI is one of them. And then not necessarily 2024 to 2025, but, overall the event industry is unpredictable, right? And so constantly leaning in and adapting to change and not being change adverse is something that kind of I lean into each year. So if something didn't go well the year before because of XYZ that was out of my control, I try to prepare for it for the next one. So, yeah.
Yeah, I want to circle back to that AI question too and dig in a little bit deeper. But Jason, is anything Caitlin's saying resonating with you? And how are you seeing the job being different or the same from last year?
Yeah, I would say the biggest change that started to take place last year as well is all of our events are consumer focused, and we are getting a massive influx of people. There's tons of now TikTok accounts and Instagram accounts posting about all the free things to do, especially in New York. So we are just making sure that we have proper line management, we have security, we are engaging people while they're in line, so there's the full experience, and just making sure that we have enough people on site to cater to all of the guests that are trying to participate in our experience. I think the biggest thing as well is timelines every year are getting smaller and smaller. So we are being awarded business and going live within 3 to 4 weeks. So handling that, we're just making sure that we have our right partners kind of everywhere throughout the US and our trusted and true relationships, and we could tap into them as soon as we need to hit the ground running.
Yeah, I've been with the magazine with Event Marketer for 18 years now. And every year the timeline gets shorter and shorter. And I just wonder at what point there's just like, when do we run out of time? But moving on, we at Event Marketer are hearing that clients now are asking more often for ops to be in the room during pitches. And many seem to really want to understand those costs and deadlines more than they did before. Caitlin, I'll start with you. Are you seeing this sudden interest among clients to better understand ops and production? And what are you seeing there?
Yeah, I think for clients, it's a definite value add to have operations in the room when creative ideas are being brought to the table, because not only does it give the clients an opportunity to react to the creative idea, but to react to, can I do it or can I not do it? And if the person in the room is there to say, yeah, you can, then it really helps the process move along and everything. So, and it also gets them really excited about the creative concepts versus, not being able to know one way or another down the road. So I love my job from that aspect, that I have really good collaboration with our teams, and that, we lean on each other on, developing those creative concepts to reality.
Yeah, Jason, your thoughts on that question? Are clients getting into ops a little bit sooner than they used to?
They are. So we make sure that every call for pre-sale and RFP, there's a member of the ops team on the call. So they're there to answer any budget questions, answer any production questions, answer timeline questions, understanding now that clients are extremely budget conscious and they need to justify to the rest of their teams of the spend for the activation. So it's really helpful to have an ops in the conversation from the beginning.
Yeah, it sounds like that visibility is a win all the way around. And I wonder, Matt, bringing you into the conversation, if agency production teams are getting in the room sooner, does that also mean that agencies are working with you sooner? And is there a benefit? What is that benefit when those chats happen earlier in the process than they used to?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. They are, and we have some excellent agency partners out there that are bringing us in early. And Caitlin hit it, it's kind of the doability factor, can this be done? And the earlier, the better, fully understanding sometimes we do 3 or 4 week jobs, right, Jason? It happens. But having those conversations early really helps. I mean, it really helps from the doability factor, but then it allows time for all the important stuff that we have to get done, whether it's, a plan B, because we're going to talk about weather here in a little bit, right? So what's our plan B? Certainly permitting, you want to get starting on permitting as soon as possible. So having a line with those ops folks that are in the room during the pitch or during the ideation is just so important for us. And again, we have really awesome partners that share that with us kind of throughout the process, so we can all kind of pivot together or move to that plan B or just go, I don't know if this is, can you have an escalator in the middle of Austin city limits? I don't know. Let's give it a go. Right. So that's important for us to hear earlier, the better.
Yeah. And Matt, you mentioned weather. So yes, let's talk about it, because again, thinking about my long career here, we have never covered weather events as much as we have in the past several months, ranging from wildfires, floods, earthquakes, hurricanes, you name it. I don't have to tell you. So obviously this, trend in extreme weather is becoming a bigger deal for operations teams. Jason, you're part of an agency that has offices in LA and New York. So 2-part question for you. How did the fires impact LA and your event schedules for you and your agency? And then bigger picture, how is weather impacting what you do and how you build moving forward?
Yeah. So in LA with the fires, we definitely had some events that were going to go live around that time period, and we have pushed them all to be happening this summer or later throughout the year. We also were planning an activation with a hair care company at the Grammy House, and once that got canceled, we ended up pivoting and moving the entire activation to New York. So we completely scrapped the idea and we turned it into an outdoor mobile activation. It was a food truck, product sampling, coffee, and we pulled it off in a 3-week time period. With weather, so the safety of our guests and our employees and our staff are our highest priority. So we are tracking weather constantly. I have every single weather app on my phone for rain, sleet, wind. We make sure that all of our builds that are outside are weatherproof. They're weighted appropriately in case the wind gust comes through. There has been times, thankfully, we work with a lot of retail brands where we're activating outside of their store. So we'll move some of it inside. So the experience still is taking place, just indoors and outdoors. And then even with our crews, we have tents, we have umbrellas, we have hand warmers, we have rain jackets. We make sure everybody takes as many breaks as possible, because at the end of the day, if our on-site team is miserable and cold and wet, then the whole experience is not as fun. So we just are really making sure that everybody's safe and comfortable the whole time.
Yeah, Caitlin, does that sound familiar? And how are you approaching weather as a factor in your programs as they're being built?
Yeah, I mean, we, as Jason said, you're constantly preparing for the unknowns of what's going to happen at an event, whether it's planning ahead 3 months before or 2 days before the event, a last minute pivot has to happen. I think the biggest thing is having trusted, vendors and partners on our teams that can switch very easily from A to B without causing, a lot of chaos. And so we lean a lot on our team and our partners to, be able to adapt really quickly to that. And I think having communications plans has really helped us. So it's not just a matter of, hey, it's raining, it's what are we doing? And it's got a whole timeline about, okay, the tent's going to come in this time now because of this. And, if we're doing a driving event or something like that, having scouts on standby to go rescout the routes we're planning on doing with guests so that they can, go back and say, this road's closed, we got to go back to this place and, reroute the whole thing. So it's having really good teammates and partners on our side to really make sure the event goes off as flawlessly as we can control it.
Sure. Yeah. And Matt, thinking about for you all, you probably lived in the world of wind. Wind ratings was probably what but I'm guessing that view has expanded now.
Yeah, Mark Twain said, everybody talks about the weather, but nobody does anything about it, right? It's a challenge. Obviously, I love hearing Jason and Caitlin's answers because I'm all about a plan. I mentioned earlier plan B. Sometimes it seems like we get to plan C or D by the time it actually goes off, right? So plan. I think my advice to event marketers would be, if you're working with a structure, if you're working with a container or a stick-built structure or anything or custom fabrication, just to understand their engineering a little bit more than saying, oh, it looks good to me, figure out what their win rating really is. If it does rain, where's that water going? HVAC, is it easy to plug and play if we're renting a system from Sunbelt, or do you have your own HVAC? Those kinds of questions just to kind of outline the product, and then plan, and, monitor the weather as needed. And hopefully you don't get to plan C, but it happens.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because contingency planning, obviously, a hallmark of the event industry. It's how events get done well is to have contingency plans. But I just wonder if there are just different kinds of plans that have had to develop out of this. And Jason, maybe if you could speak a little bit to what's the go-to? Is it a schedule contingency plan? Is it a city contingency plan? Is it all of that? Like, how are you approaching the contingency plans right now?
Yeah, so well in advance, we always have a rain contingency plan. So our teams know if it's a light drizzle, what to do, if it's a torrential downpour, what to do, and if it's a full-on hurricane, what to do. We've activated outside before, and we've been in a hailstorm and had to quickly bring everything inside. So it's really just what the types of weather that we can expect most likely to happen. So planning for rain, planning for winds, planning for colds, and just making sure that we also have all the supplies ready. So we have storage in our Brooklyn office of umbrellas and ponchos and everything that's needed for rain, so we can quickly get the teams equipped with the supplies that they need.
And I want to circle back, Caitlin, because you mentioned AI, and I'd love to hear more about that. But we are starting to see more production teams test and use AI. Wondering if your ops team is using any tools for any of this contingency planning or any other kind of productivity. And if you could just tell us a little bit about which ones might be working for you and how you might be utilizing them.
Yeah, our teams are dabbling in AI a little bit. We are using ChatGPT, the OG, to start off with, but we mainly use AI to help us with some of the more tedious things that are part of our production day. So whether it's researching new things in an area that we haven't been to yet, we haven't activated yet, before we schedule site visits and all of that, we're lining up vendors that we could potentially work with from a local perspective, and really streamlining that process a little bit quicker to get those initial ideas together. We're also using AI to help us develop schedules a little bit easier. A lot of our jobs are, making detailed run of shows, and sometimes our brains are just dumping it on there. And so being able to put it into an organized way using AI kind of helps us out, make our jobs a little bit faster on that end.
Yeah, Jason, I want to ask about costs, but did you want to chime in on AI at all and let us know how it's working for you? in your
Yeah,
agency?
so we're really using AI more for kind of behind the scenes work, and a little bit that is client facing. So we use deep AI for images when we're building out mood boards and reference images for programs. Once we have client buy-in, then our creative team starts from scratch and builds it the OG way. We obviously use ChatGPT for helping with some writing some documents, and then internally we use Granola. So it's a note-taking app that really just listens to the entire conversation. We use this for all of our internal calls just to make sure that nothing gets missed and we know what's priority for the next conversation.
I'm writing that down right now. That's interesting. You learned something new. I love the name of it. So I want to talk a little bit about costs and stick with you, Jason, because if we look back to 22 and 2023, it felt like costs kind of had to hit a ceiling, which they did. And we did see some costs flatten out. And we've had a lot of internal research here at Event Marketer that has where the data has shown us that costs have flattened out across several important categories, which is great. Labor not among them. But I'm wondering what you're seeing in terms of what's up and what's down as we head into the rest of the year.
Yeah, so labor definitely up. I would say that's labor for everybody that's building and producing all of the assets for our events. I'd say also on-site labor, so the build crews, the PAs that are assisting on site, all the way down to the brand ambassadors. Another thing that is up, we're noticing food and beverage. So those costs are slowly creeping up. And then different materials. So different materials that are going into the builds that we're making. I'd say down is printing. So small format printing is definitely down. Random event supplies that we have on site, as well as furniture. So we actually buy and rent a ton of furniture for events, and then we donate them to nonprofits post-event, or the client keeps them. But I would say the cost of furniture has definitely gone down.
Interesting. I'd love to talk more about the sustainability piece of that, and we're going to circle back to that because that's really interesting. Matt, I want to ask you about how this impacts your world when we think about costs. Curious if material costs are rising for you, and then since we all know, and it sounds like it's consistently true that labor costs are not coming down, or at least remaining flat, how can you be smarter about setting up your outdoor exhibits with the teams that you have to work with?
Yeah, so material costs have plateaued, if not come down a little bit, from a group that buys aluminum, steel, wood, and glue and cutting fluid, right? So that stuff is pretty much plateaued, if not has gone down a little bit. We're seeing an uptick in transportation. It was really bad after the pandemic, obviously with some of the issues we had in the country, but especially going to California, getting a 53-foot flatbed into California has become issues. Sorry about that. With regard to regulations and things like that. So that's a cost that we're seeing going up. We do labor a little bit different. So our products aren't complex, but they're large. They can be, 2 stories or 3 stories, right? So we're slinging some metal to build these structures. So what we do is we have a preferred partner. We have a vendor that we've trained. We have a labor group that we've trained, and we love them. And although they might be more expensive on the front end because they're traveling in to work with us, they're going to win every time versus local labor on our builds, right? Because they know how to do it, and it's speed. So we win on speed. Local labor is a thing. You absolutely have to use it when you can. But if you're building a complex structure, we want to use guys that know what they're doing. So that's the goal. And it's not fixed bidding. We charge for it is the exact hours that we work, basically, right? So the goal is speed. It's always been speed and efficiency.
Yeah, and sticking with the theme of the labor force, Jason, I'm going to ask you this question. Speaking about the kind of the fluidity of the freelance market, we have started to see the freelance pool get smaller, definitely always smaller in 24 because there just seemed to be all of this demand, especially for producers. So I'm wondering how you are making sure that you have access to great freelance talent, given that talent is really in demand by a lot of ops teams right now.
So we have a dedicated team that is vetting, researching, reaching out to new talent. We're constantly interviewing people to make sure that we have them at the ready to go once a project lands. I think on the other end, once we do land a project, we've made it very seamless for them to start running essentially when they work with us. So we have a very efficient, quick onboarding process, a very efficient training process. And then as we start working with these freelancers, we put them on more projects with us to retain them. So it's more work with them with us. And then we're constantly also just reaching out to new people.
I want to keep talking a little bit about sustainability, if we could too. And Caitlin, I'll ask you this question, but I want to hear from you all. It seems like we've done many interviews with many operations professionals over the years, and there's so much hope and optimism in terms of what can be done from a sustainability perspective in the concept phase, but ultimately the buck stops with you. So wondering, first of all, if you're still seeing clients really asking for more eco-friendly and sustainable programs and solutions, and then how you're able to really translate that and how you're able to make that happen when those requests do come in. Caitlin, do you want to kick that off?
Yeah, I think sustainability is something that has definitely become bigger in the event space. And something at Zarnowski Collective that we're doing is we have a couple different things that are kind of exciting from an event operations perspective. Other people might think whatever, but we think it's cool. One of the things we do is we have warehouses all across the country. So if we have a project that's out west, we'll try to lean into having things fabricated somewhere farther out there, so that we're not having to truck things farther than need to from a carbon footprint perspective. The other thing we're doing, which is really cool, is doing a lot of research and development on ways to reduce water intake water usage when it comes to making our fabrics for back walls and things like that. So our team did a lot of research on this, and they've been able to reduce it by like 2/3, I think it was. So pretty cool stuff happening, and that's something that now we can take back and use that from client to client depending on their needs. So a lot of that kind of stuff going on our end.
That's great. And Jason, you mentioned the furnishing donation. Are there other kind of go-tos that you're able to offer to clients in the sphere of sustainability?
Yeah. So one thing that we're actually really noticing with our clients is whatever we're producing or purchasing for the event, they're wanting to keep afterwards to reuse for another event or put in their office or use wherever. So we're definitely making sure that everything that is at the event is able to be reused, if that is the case. So we're transporting stuff to their offices or to other warehouses. Like Caitlin said, we work a lot with partners in market to reduce trucking costs and people needing to fly all over the place. So we have fabricators in all of our major markets. With all of our food and beverage, especially our serviceware, everything is eco-friendly and sustainable. So just making sure that it's all recyclable. We have a lot of packaging for client products and things that we're purchasing. So just making sure that we're recycling all of the cardboard and the plastic and as much as we can.
Terrific. And then Matt, your products are inherently a renewable resource because they're rental products. But I'm wondering if you're seeing what I'm seeing. We are seeing a lot of embracing of sustainability in trade show, but maybe it's a little tougher on the event side. And I'm wondering if you're seeing the same thing, what your perspective is.
Yeah, it's a really big deal in indoor trade show right now. It's a hot topic. I think it's a volume thing more than anything, though, right? So if you think about trade show, there's literally a trade show in every city every day, and there is a lot of waste in trade show with aisle carpets, and Caitlin mentioned fabrics, and there's a lot of wood and custom built things. So I think it's a hot topic there out of volume. Doesn't mean we all shouldn't be doing it. But it's a big deal in trade show. And thanks for the plug about our products being all aluminum and in steel, which is highly recyclable and then obviously rentable. I do see it a little bit, and Jason and Caitlin both kind of mentioned some things that are being done in more of the event agency kind of outdoor world, the activation world, which is great. There's the flip side of that too, though, because there are a lot of custom structures that you see in outdoor. 40-foot blender for Malibu rum in the middle of a field is not a sustainable thing. But obviously you guys are working with your vendors to make that happen, and that's something to be recycled. So yeah, it's a bigger deal on the trade show side. I assume it's moving towards the events, and it sounds like from Caitlin's answer, it is to a certain extent.
Yeah, and now I need some kind of rum-based drink. Thanks, Matt.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
It just sounds really good. Sounds very refreshing. Well, I want to wrap us up here today with one more question for you all. And you can leave the client names out. You can leave out the names of the innocent, the event names. But we like to ask this on all of our ops chats because I think what you do is unique, and it is not always recognized for the value that what you do provides to your entire ecosystem and the brands and the work that you do is by its very nature behind the scenes. So we like to let you commiserate a little bit to know that you're not alone in this. And we're curious if there's just a story of something that you've worked on that maybe you almost needed therapy by the time it was over, but you got through it. This is your chance to get it out and share with one another. But Jason, does anything come to mind that, it ultimately was successful, but it was a really hard operational challenge that you got through?
Yeah, so we were hosting a pop-up last summer in New York, and when we went to pick up the keys to start load-in, we found out that the person that was renting the space from the landlord fraudulently made a contract with us. So he was gone. We showed up. The actual landlord had no idea who we were. We showed him the contract. It was completely fraudulent. One great thing with our team is that we all are ready to help each other out and have each other's support. And so we all tapped into our network. We found a new space same day, and it only delayed our load in by 4 hours. And the event, no changes to the event, just a different location. And to the consumer, it was the exact same experience. So really showed us that we can all have each other's back and jump in as needed.
Was it a better space? Did it work out? Yeah.
It was bigger, it was cleaner.
That was the plan, right?
It was a lot.
Exactly. It was all part of the plan. Yeah, Caitlin, do you have any stories for us?
Well, I definitely resonate on the venue switch up. We've had to do that as well a couple times. No, I mean, I think a lot of different things that, are challenging at these events only make things just that much more stronger on the next one. You'll remember, on the next one, oh, I need the budget for this, or I need to not forget about, telling a florist not to bring plants that have fruit flies in them or something, right? So each one of these challenges just helps me at least every time. Okay, don't do that again. But I don't know. There's one event that kind of just stands out to me. A couple years ago, we were doing an event in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of winter. It's very cold, and it's not that one thing went wrong. We were just there for a very long time. It was like 12 days, I think.
Oh, wow.
So at the end of it, I was ready to go. And my rental car gets stuck in the snow. So we were all just laughing about it, that like, wow, this event really doesn't want to let us go. And having good colleagues around was fun in that experience, because we're all able to laugh about it, not then, but later.
Yes, it's funny. It's funny a few days or weeks later, not in the moment so much. Oh my goodness. Oh wow. Matt, do you have any recent or not so recent stories that come to mind?
Oh, I've got a few. I don't think I've ever shared this one, at least in this forum. We were doing a project that took 6 flatbeds, so a lot of material. And it was on a golf course. It was the golf tournament. And we had to cross load this material in a staging area to get it on the golf course. So we lost truck number 2. It never showed up. And a day went by, and we're on the phone with the broker, and like they literally lost a truck. And to this day, we called it the Bermuda truck, because to this day we didn't really get an explanation on what happened to the second truck. Now, what made that interesting was obviously we didn't have materials from truck number 2, which is, you stagger these things coming in. So we kind of build it from the top down. So we challenged ourselves with that. And then the power of the high mark inventory here in Fort Wayne, we had enough to cover it, right? So guys came in back home and pulled it together and sent it out. And so we didn't miss it by much, right? So we didn't, miss anything, but it only delayed us a day or two. We got the structure up. Everybody was happy. But the Bermuda truck is somewhere out in the wild still. We don't know where it is with our materials.
Oh my God. That's incredible. I don't, it's every once in a while we check in with that statistic of the most stressful jobs in the world, and event production, event planning is typically number 3 on the list, and it still is as of late 2023, the last time I think it was measured. So these stories often remind me of why that is the case. So, well, thank you for sharing. Thank you for everyone who joined us today. I want to say thank you, Caitlin from Public School, and thank you to Jason from Coffee and Clothes for joining us. Thank you, guys. It's important to talk about these topics, and it's important to talk about them in real time because things are changing so quickly. So thanks again. You can learn more about Caitlin and Jason and their agencies at public-school.com and coffeeandclothes.com. And a big thanks to our partners, Highmark Outdoor and Matt Andrews, for today. You can learn more about them and him at highmarktech.com. Thank you. And to all the ops teams out there, keep on doing what you're doing. We appreciate you. We see you. The industry cannot do any of it without you. So keep on keeping on and have a great day, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.